Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. I was thinking about my intro, and actually, I should say thank you for having me in your home. Because I spent a lot of time traveling to everybody's phone or computer or laptop, whatever you have. And seems like an opportunistic time to bring up the fact that the majority of people don't subscribe when they watch a video. I wish you would. It's a very tiny percentage that does, and I thank the almost 5,000 loyal followers that I have. And I got 500 plus people that watch my videos as soon as they come out, which is awesome. YouTube tells me every detail of all the analytics of all the videos. Within 1 hour of publishing a video, they tell me whether it's good or not. I could have saved them an hour and told them it probably wasn't, but hey, I'm doing my best. And in order to keep on climbing, a simple like, if you click the like, click the dislike. Either way, it counts in their algorithm, and they base payments and everything else on subscriptions. So typically each video has 2 ads, sometimes one at the end. And just the fact that it went in front of your eyes for a second counts. You can skip them, they're all skippable. When I watch my own videos, I watch the entire ad just out of curiosity because I'm a skipper otherwise most of the time. So really, when I'm watching videos, I just click the like and subscribe. If I like what's going on, I might want to see more of it. And it really makes a big difference. So I don't plead that very often, but when I started this channel, I wasn't sure, if I'd ever make it past the first video. Didn't think I'd ever reach 1,000 subscribers, the threshold for getting monetized. Watch hours was not a problem, which goes right back to my original point. Plenty of people watching, but people are pretty stingy on the old subscription and likes and shares. If you want to share it, that's not as popular, but it's a thing. It's one of the 3 buttons or 4 buttons up there on the top of your screen or below wherever you're watching. So if you could, I'd appreciate it. I don't ask very often. I used to ask every video. It gets kind of, blah. So I try to explain the reasons why anyway. So, and if you have your own channel, you already understand, and you probably did subscribe. So let's get to the reason why we're here. But wait, the weather. It is very humid today. It's only mid to high 70s, but it rained the last day and a half, which we really need. So that was beneficial, but now we got to get this humidity to blow out of here, and I think the end of the week is going to be Shawnee weather, which is mid 70s, low humidity. So I'm looking forward to that. Today we're going to talk about case savers. I finally finished that reed case transmission that's back there, and I've been working on this one. It's been a long time since I had a transmission built ahead with no purpose, which is awesome. It'd be super handy to have on short notice. So I'm building it completely out of parts once again, which is always interesting. I have a lot of parts, but the problem, like all my transmissions, I have to build it I have to pretend I'm building it for myself because I fall in love with each and every part. And then I don't want to part with it, but then, if I sell it to somebody or trade it or whatever, I don't want to give them junk, so I have to pretend I'm building it for myself. And then my brain loosens up the good parts, and that's what we're using, as usual. There is no bad parts, really, but I fall in love. Again, mileage-wise, like this particular pump I'm about to put in, it had 33,000 miles on it. It's perfect. But off she goes. So I got to this point in the project and thought it was a good time because I had a few questions asking about case savers. There's basically only 2 different types, but let's just cover it start to finish. The intermediate clutches in the Turbo 400 are splined into the case. This is the pressure plate, and the clutches look just like it, and there's a giant void right here where it's not doing anything in the case. An aftermarket reed case, and I assume all of them, are splined 360. So this is all splined into the case. So this is a weakness that was designed in for whatever reason, along with the intermediate snap ring, which when you look at it, it looks really spindly and small. But when you measure it, compare it to my Super Duty snap ring I'm going to use, this one's only 2/1000ths thinner. And it's actually 10/1000ths thicker than the 480E spiral lock. So where you're gaining with this Super Duty snap ring is the thickness of it. I mean, this thing is a monster. This thing looks like a toy. In reality, 2/1000ths thicker, but much wider. So they combined this weakness with this weakness, and when the transmission shifts into second gear, these clutches, there's going to be a hydraulic piston push this way, so you got forces going this way against the snap ring, as well as this needs to grab the splines of the clutches are going to grab the sprag race on the back of the direct drum and stop it from spinning at high RPM. So that's a lot of load. You're going this way with it and this way. So it's very hard on the case lugs. Now, I have abused the heck in the past, before I even knew, well, these are even available, the Super Duty stuff. I mean, I've been building transmissions a long time. You know, we just put this back in with no extra support. And yes, occasionally the case would fail, but did we even know why? I don't know. I'm talking back in the 70s, so, and 80s. So now we know better. We know that we can improve the situation. So how are you going to do it? There's two different ways. And your choice is based on whether you want to retain the front band, the small band, that gives you engine braking if you click down to manual second. So if you're an off-roader, or I guess going to do a lot of street driving, this also helps, you know, if you're going to manually downshift to slow the transmission down inside. When I install a trans brake in a transmission, the majority of the trans brakes available, there are some that retain the front band. If you shop around, you can get one. They're not real popular, because typically you're doing one or the other. And if I'm building a, you know, hot street or race transmission, we don't need the front band. So all that stuff gets left out. And in the case of this style case saver, this bolt is actually going up through the hole where the apply piston used to live, so for the front band. But if you want to retain the front band, there's this little rig. I'll give you close-ups here in a minute, but this is available from Sonex. The first one I ever saw was made by Rossler. And this hangs on the pin that locates your front band. So this is sticking inside the case, and this would just sit on it. And you need to cut another notch in this, you know, area without notches for this to clear. And this will go down, and in this little 1/2-inch shelf, it will support the snap ring. So you're gaining a 1/2 inch in the middle of a giant void. You know, that's a lot. But if you don't need the front band, this is where we get Super Duty, if you will. So put this away. I drive this pin out. A lot of people want to drive it from the inside out. I don't see the difference. I drive it from the outside in, a couple swings of a hammer, and it's out. Now, these are permanent modifications, so if this is the original case out of your LS6 Chevelle numbers matching, you might want to think about it. But all the other Turbo 400s, I don't care. Everything I do is probably irreversible with this transmission. It's never going to go back to stock. And if we had to, we could probably make it work. But no worries that I'm taking the pin out. But I don't stop at taking the pin out, because I've learned this conical head bolt is going to go through the case where this pin used to live. And there's a nut on the outside. When you drive the pin out and try the 3/8 bolt in the hole, it is tight. So tight that you're either going to have to hammer it through and get shards of aluminum everywhere, or wind it through and create a path for oil. So I go ahead and drill it out to 3/8. I beat this through the case, go right behind it with a 3/8 drill, and now this fits. And I seal this with some sealer. I take it like this, put some sealer on the threads. I mash this through the case, put the nut on the outside. I don't tighten it yet, because you want to start this little Allen bolt up through the hole right here. And now you got 3.5 inches of support. almost covering the entire area. So that is super duty. The next step better than that is an aftermarket case. And this is still probably stronger in this area than just lugs and a snap ring. So that is an excellent device. They're about 50 bucks. And I got 4 of these left. And I got this one of this style I've been hanging on to. And I would use this style if I'm going to build myself or somebody a street transmission, retaining the front band, but it's going to be a pretty hot transmission. They're going to shift hard, potentially putting a lot of strain on the snap ring. I'm going to run the heavy duty snap ring anyway, but if I improve it with this by simply grinding another notch in the pressure plate, well, that's not a big deal. And I forget the price of these, 30 or 40 bucks. Pretty ingenious little rig. Back to this one for a minute. These have a small flaw, and that is that this end right here is really close to the direct drum. A lot of times I've taken transmissions apart that I didn't build, by the way, and the drum has been rubbing on it, and there's aluminum, stuck to the side of the drum because it's clearanced its way out. So shine a flashlight down in there, or just go ahead and grind a little bit right at the round part right here. It sits not cocked in the case, but it sits closer to the drum. That's the closest point to the drum. And you're going to want to grind that out and make sure you got clearance. I just did this one. It's still pretty close, but nothing should move that much that it should never hit. So once it clears, you should be good to go. Here we go again. Be right back. I might need new batteries. And here's a close-up. This one's an FTI of the case saver that does not retain the front band. That's the part number. I like those. I keep plenty in stock. This is the Sonics. That's the part number that retains the front band. And, sorry to make you sick here, if I get the old flashlight out, you can see it in place in this transmission and how close it gets right there to the direct drum. That's the bolt through the hole there and the nut on the outside. When I was buying the CK Performance transbrake valve bodies, his kits came with the heavy duty snap ring and his own version of the case saver, which was just a little L bracket, so it would support 3/4 of an inch of the snap ring. Let's talk about the snap ring for a second. When I install it with a case saver, there's different style cases. Some Turbo 400 cases outside of the void are splined just like this all the way around. Others have a gap over here. If there's a gap or without, I typically want to make the most of my case saver, and I don't want the gap of the snap ring on the case saver, so I try to put the gap of the snap ring in that small opening over here or just between a couple case lugs, so this area is completely supported and there's no void in the snap ring. My goal is to have snap ring under every lug and the opening somewhere where it's not. The spiral lock is a 480E piece that fits right in your Turbo 400. I mentioned it's 10 thousandths thinner than your stock snap ring. And I've noticed when it's in there by itself, when I air check the transmission, you can see that snap ring going like this, this way. Never had them pop out. I'm not sure they could, the way the almost 3 wraps, when they go in the case, I don't think it could ever find its way out. And when you combine this with this, I feel plenty secure. I have lots of them out in the world like that. And I was buying these, and then I found I like these better still. They're easier. Well, neither one is hard to put in and out, really. This one is pretty, because of its width, pretty strong. But if you shop around, these are less than 10 bucks. And these are probably 20 or more. So whatever you choose, it's still going to be better than this. the stock factory one. So, and while working in this area, the Turbo 400 intermediate clutch pressure plate is 435,000. So I've marked it right on there. When you want to convert to the 4L80E 4 clutch intermediate, which they come like that from the factory, the 4L80E pressure plate is a direct bolt-in. It looks just like this, but it's, I think, 375 thousandths. It's thinner this direction. So you could cut this one down on the lathe if you wanted to. I just buy the 4L80E pressure plate when I go to the 4 clutch intermediate. Whether you need the 4 clutch intermediate, totally up to you. A lot of transmissions like this one, this has 5 in the forward, 5 in the direct, 3 in the intermediate. It'll be fine. I'm putting a hipster ATD automatic transmission design first gear lead brake in it, and I've done all the other cool mods that we typically do. This one I had a nice stock Turbo 400 drum that would accept the 34 element Sprague. It's just a nice, you know, transmission. Sure, there's better stuff, and there's a lot worse stuff, but this is a good, you know, shall we call it, middle of the road transmission. So I guess that's going to do it today. Thanks for watching. Hope you're having a great week, and I'll catch you soon. A couple days.